Hey, hey, hey. Hi, Kojo. Thank you for joining us. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me for my LinkedIn Live. So my name is Yekemi Otaru, and I am a co-founding director of Dukaru and a serial entrepreneur, do quite a few different things. And Kojo and I were just saying before we went live that we both seem to have our fingers in many different pies. So I want to welcome Kojo, and he's going to introduce himself and tell us a little bit about what you do right now. And then we'll go back to the past and just build a bit of a picture of your background, Kojo.
Hi, my name's Kojo Agyei. I'm a renowned fitness, lifestyle and wellbeing coach. I'm known as the celebrity coach with a gentle approach because I've worked with Beyoncé, David Beckham, Jennifer Lopez, Emma Bunton, Tony, Cherie and Blair, and I coach for Adidas, Nike and Lululemon, plus Chelsea and Brighton, Hove, Albion football clubs. And what I'm doing right now is I'm the founder of Elysium, and we're trying to raise the money to buy a castle in the Highlands of Scotland to do retreats for a sort of haven for high net worth individuals. And I've also created the 1 minute meditation and Reset by Agyei, how to reset your life and be happier, healthier and wealthier. That's what I'm up to.
Amazing. I love how you sum up the stuff that you do. I know we first met on Clubhouse, and I was really I guess pulled in by your intro. Like you do a lot, and you're able to sum it up in a really impactful way. So thank you for that. So wow, there's a lot there. So going back, how did you start in the fitness industry? Was that the first industry that you were in, or did you do something before that?
So I started in sport, so professional football and cricket. I played cricket for Sussex, and as a youngster I was with Millwall and Luton. And then when I didn't get a pro contract for football, I didn't really want to play for no money, and my father wasn't around from when I was very young, so I didn't have that guiding factor. So I sort of gave up football, and then with my cricket career, I went to Spain in the summer with the lads. So went for not Benidorm, but it's a place called Kalela, very similar. And we were young and foolish. And for Sussex, at the end of the season, they have the Cambridge Festival where all the under-19s teams play, and that's when you get given your contract. But I went out to Spain and for 11 days and got a job as a disco dancer. I used to do robotic and body popping, and so I got a job when I was out there, and I ended up staying from the summer till October and missed my cricket. Missed my cricket tournament, so that was the end of my cricket career. And I did a disco dancing. I was up for Spain. I won the region, and I was going to represent Spain in the World Disco Dancing Championships. But then I came back and went to university in October, and I was studying drama and psychology. And then psychology was a bit difficult, so I decided to do dance. And then I found I had a natural aptitude for dance, and after a year I left there and went to ballet school. Went to Pineapple, went to ballet school, became a ballet dancer and worked with ballet companies. Then I went into West End musicals, Carmen Jones, Starlight Express, Porgy and Bess, the Eartha Kitt show. Then I became a commercial dancer, which means you do pop tours and things. So I worked with the Spice Girls, U2, Paul McCartney, Mariah Carey, people like that. And then I toured around the world with, back in the day, of Bananarama, Dead or Alive, Sunita, who's actually really, really close friends because her godfather was my mentor. And then I toured, at the end of my career, I toured with Two Unlimited, the Dutch sort of techno pop band, lived in Amsterdam. And then after that, I sort of got into sport modeling, and I was doing a lot of sportswear modeling, Adidas, Nike, Umbro, and all those. And then I made the switch to a choreographer. So I finished my career, and I worked predominantly in fashion and for the sportswear companies, doing the global conferences for Adidas, Nike, and Umbro. And then at that time, when I was getting to the end of my career, that's when I became a football coach. And then I decided I want to be a fitness trainer for football clubs, but when the manager gets sacked, the fitness coach gets sacked as well. So I thought, I'm not in control of my destiny. So I decided to do personal training instead of sport, made the switch to that. My first client was the person that ran the production company that I worked for as a choreographer. And then from that, because I was in that pop industry, I knew lots of sort of celebrities anyway. So like having worked with the Spice Girls, I mean, there's Louis, I don't know if you know Louis Spence is, he's quite a camp. It's one of my close friends. He's very good friends with Emma Bunton. So he was like, when she got rid of her trainer, wanted a new one because her trainer cleared out all the food from the cupboards. So he lasted 3 days. So she needed a new one. And so he went, what about Aj? Because she knew me already. So I got that. And then I bumped in the Blairs because I was working for Carol Kaplan, who was their original trainer in Holmes Place. And I was working for her, working for Holmes Place. Then they asked me to check on her because she had a controversial technique, shall we say. And she asked me to work for her as well. So I was working for Holmes Place, working for her, choreographing. And then from her, the next thing I was doing the Blairs. First of all, they said, will you go to down the street and train Ewan? Because I started doing kids. Because I was doing football coaching, I was good with teenage kids and things. So then I started finding a niche of doing wealthy people training their kids because I've always been able to relate to kids. Maybe that's because I'm a kid myself. But so then through that, next thing I was off doing cricket productions because from a choreographer I ended up running my own company and doing sports events again for Adidas and Nike. Mainly sports and entertainment seems to be my thing because I came from professional sport and then became a professional dancer. So that's, I'd say, was my niche. And then when I come back from a cricket tour, I got a call from the Blairs. There was a bit of scandal, and Carol Kaplan and Alistair Campbell didn't really get on, so she got pushed out the side. And then they said, are you still personal training? Do you still come to people's houses? And I said, yeah. They went, do you want to come to number 10 and work with Cherie? And they just said him. So that's how I like working for him at number 10.
Amazing. Phenomenal story.
I just keep, you know what, I keep falling into things.
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to say that it was all carefully orchestrated business strategy, 5-year goals and all that, but it wasn't. I just keep falling into things.
Yeah, amazing. Makes sense now how you ended up working with all these amazing people, Beyoncé, J-Lo, and the Blairs for sure. So you've done a lot. So I'm interested in your background around, well, going from sports to acting to being an entrepreneur. And you touched on something lightly about buying a castle as well. I don't know if you can expand on that. I know we've talked about this before on Clubhouse. So what's your plan for this castle? And how far along are you in the process of acquiring it? So
in our backline chat, I was saying I'm exhausted and was a bit wary of being burned out. I'd say a lot of it has to do with buying a castle. You know,
oh dear,
it's not an easy, it's not an easy thing. So it started that I was with Elysium. It's just like creating a haven for high net worth individuals, a sanctuary that they can get away and refresh and rejuvenate and revitalize. And that I was aiming at doing it down near London, an hour away from London. And the first place we looked at was in Sussex, which is where I was brought up. And that was coming in, it was like 7.5 million to buy it and about 15 million altogether needed. And then the investors said, that's a lot for your first one. So we found the same architect in Kent, and just before lockdown, the Salutation in Kent, and that was probably going to be about 3.5 to 5 million and needed less, like half, almost half. And that's what I was raising the money for that at the beginning of last year. March 12th, we were putting in a closed bid for it. March 9th, the stock exchange collapsed. And that was, there's no way we were going to buy a hotel, a spa, restaurant, bar and gym at the beginning of lockdown. So I sort of put it on hold, came back up to Cromarty in the Highlands. And then through Clubhouse, I met up with property investors. I was just being asked to speak in their rooms, and then I ran a room with a property investor called Aziz Patel, and he kept asking me. We talk every day because I run it every day at 5:30 in the morning. This is day 78 consecutive. Hence, I'm saying I'm getting close to being burned out. I've set myself 90 days was my first goal, and that which takes me to the 22nd. And then if I do 100 days, that's July the 2nd, and I'm going to have a bit of a rest.
Okay. Oh, good.
But every day we were talking after the run, and he was going, I love this Elysium brand. And I sent him the investment package for Sussex, the first one, the original, all guns. And he was like, I love that brand. And then he was like, I think it's the right time now. And I think the Highlands, where you live now, is amazing, all that space. And, whereas before I wanted to be near London, now everyone's moving away from London, and the Highlands in the lockdown and everything is probably the safest place in the UK. I've been very blessed and felt very safe. So I started looking at properties, and then an ex-girlfriend said, are you looking to buy a hotel in Dornoch? And I said, no, I was, but it's not quite spectacular enough, the view. I wanted a jaw-dropping spectacular view. And I said, I want a loch, or sea, and with a mountain. I want snow-capped mountain in front of the building, and the building's got to be spectacular. And she said, what about Cromarty? I said, yeah, I've got the view, but there is the Lord or the Laird of Cromarty has got a nice house, but it's not up for sale, and it wasn't really the right property. About 5 minutes later, she sent me this castle and went, what about this? It's called the Carbisdale Castle in Sutherland, which is just from where I live. If I look out the windows, it's just on the other side of the Cromarty, and near Dornoch and Bonar Bridge, around there. So it's quite up north, about an hour from here. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And it was only £1.5 million, which I know it sounds a lot of money, but it's not.
Compared to the other one.
It was hardly any money. Yeah. And, Notting Hill, you get a 2-bedroom flat for £1.5 million. Here it was a castle with 20 acres of land on top of a cliff with a loch in front of it, salmon fishing river, snow-capped mountains. And it was like, wow. But then when I went to see it, we thought we could get it up and running and buy it for about £5 million. I managed to get a mortgage based on doing serviced, or not. I didn't get the mortgage. I could see that I would get one when I was talking to a broker. If I did 6 serviced apartments, that would offset the risk of the actual business of a hotel and a castle. So it looked on. But then when I went to see it, in the brochure, it said 19 ensuite bedrooms, but for me, an ensuite bedroom needs to have possibly a bath, definitely a shower, definitely a sink, and definitely a toilet. And it had none of those. There was only one toilet in the whole castle. The electrics hadn't hasn't done. So the rough estimation then was it was going to be 20 to 25 million to refurbish it, because it's 41,688 square feet. So if you do that, you do the maths, that works out about £600 per square foot to get it. It's about 25 million. So I came back a bit disheartened, but when I was going to property rooms and talking about this, all the property developers were like, if the numbers add up, and then there was someone started doing, as I was talking, he was doing, I'm doing the calculations on a mortgage for 25 million at 4% interest, which is probably a little bit low, should probably do a 6 or 7. But he was going, and the profit and the cost that you could get for the serviced apartments, and you could buy them, sell them off plan while you were doing the refurbishment. It looked at, and he was like, I want to phone, I'd like to get involved. And he called me 10 minutes after the run. So I've got about 4 or 5, very good property investment dealers coming on board. And that's a different model to what I was doing in Sussex. I wasn't thinking of property. It was just going to venture capitalists and going, can I have £15 million, please? And I'll give you this much equity, and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
A property deal with getting a mortgage. I've never even bought a house. And I like to say, I don't buy houses. I just buy castles.
I love it. I love it. Gosh, it sounds like a big project. I mean, I've bought houses and they are hard work. So I can just imagine. But it sounds like something that, once you've achieved that, that would just be absolutely amazing for you and for your business.
Dealing with architects, quantity surveyors, and engineers that specialize in castles, and then some of them are from London. The team that I've had for about 6 years, and then obviously because it's Scotland, the laws are different, the heritage laws are different,
right.
Property laws. So luckily, my architect studied at Glasgow University and spent a lot of time in Edinburgh. So he's getting all his contacts from there, and he just did Bodmin Jail. For 6 years, £50 million, 70-bedroom hotel. So it used to be a jail, 400 years old, and he's converted that. So this is quite easy for him in a way.
Yeah.
So, I've been doing all those figures and
I understand why you were a little bit tired, Kojo. Thank you so much. So I just want to reset a little bit for people that are watching us now and later. I'm Yekemi Otaru, and I've got Kojo Agyei with me. And you just check out his bio in the text, probably above this video. He's a phenomenal guy and does all sorts of things. He's an actor, he's an entrepreneur, he's a fitness guru. And recently I've come across him on Clubhouse doing quite a few rooms around resetting your life and really making that progress that you want to make in your life. He's worked with celebrities on this kind of thing. And also he does a room with a lady called Ruby Sweeney on making your business pandemic proof. And I really want to get into that. So if you've got a question for Kojo, put it in the chat and we will get to it. We've got one that's come through. I don't know if you can answer this one. So Tim, hi Tim, good to have you here. So he's asking about, are you able to factor in an income for the wider estate as well? This is on your castle purchases.
So that's a really good question, because the way to add to the problems of the castle it's a great shell, but the workmanship that I've done the refurb it recently was shoddy to say the least, which has probably increased the money. But over the last, I don't know how many years it is, they've sold off lots of the land and other properties. So we're getting in touch with the Forestry Commission, and my partners have said they want us to, at the moment it's got 20 acres, but the 20 acres, say the castle's at the top here, the 20 acres aren't just around it. The 20 acres are like somewhere over here and somewhere over there and somewhere over there. So what my partners are saying, we want to speak to the Forestry Commission and see if we can get 500 acres of land around there, so that get more of the seclusion. But I want to keep, all the forest and all the woods, keep everything as natural as possible. There's some of the farmers related to one, Jim Oliver, who's working with me as project manager. His niece and nephew have got a farm. So we want to work with the people next to us, or have all our own land as well. But definitely my goal and my legacy, I'd love, because I've never been into it until I went to see it the other day, but I've heard so many people up in the Highlands have got special memories of the castle and the estate. So if I leave, I'm really, legacy is a big part of goals and the whole reset your life thing of what do you want your legacy. From my legacy in the Highlands, I would love to get the castle back to its former glory, to, for people to enjoy, and also, for the guests, obviously, but the natural resources, all the land, the food, the soil, the fish in the water, everything to be from the land, sourced locally, straight onto the plate and the fork, and could create an eco-sustainable way of living. Because it's not that old, it's 1907, but take bits from the ancient and then modernize it and make it more eco-friendly and sustainable, including Scott, I know, who's on here, Scott Pertry. We've been talking about the ways of heating it, environmentally friendly, or the energy sources we could use, and try and be revolutionary. Because one of the game for myself in terms of my mission is, or legacy, I would like to be known as the Steve Jobs of health, fitness, and lifestyle. So if I can do something like this, regenerate the oil, the earth, and the estate, that's 100%, Tim. That's a brilliant question. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that question, Tim. And thank you so much, Kojo, for answering that very thoroughly. So it actually leads nicely into the whole reset your life. So tell me a little bit about what you mean when you say reset your life, and some of the work that you've been doing and conversations that have been happening in the rooms that you've been running. Because you said at the start, for anyone who didn't join at the beginning, you are at room 78, and these rooms run at 5:30 in the morning. And I know there are always different conversations because you do kind of write about it on your social media afterwards. So tell me, what do you mean by reset your life, and what are some of the conversations and trends that you're seeing with people that you're talking to?
So Reset Your Life started in 2018 when I had to have a hip replacement, and so I couldn't be personal training, yoga, football coaching, and choreographing because I couldn't walk. I literally couldn't walk for 2 years. I had a walking stick, had to come upstairs to here. I used to have to crawl up, so I used to sleep downstairs in the living room. It was bad, and it was like having toothache in my hip, and it degenerated a lot. So I was bone on bone, no cartilage. So I realized, and they said that in a year the other hip was going to go. So I was like, I can't do my physical things anymore. I've got to look after myself. So I had to reset my life, and that's when I got into using my mind and the amount of experience I've had over. I mean, I'm 56 and I've been doing what I've been doing since I was 19. And I've got all this experience and knowledge, so why not use that by using my brain and speaking as opposed to doing everything physically. So I say that in 2018 I had to reset my life. In 2020, the whole world had to reset because of COVID. We went into lockdown, and then we had this 15 months of reevaluating what we want in our lives. And a lot of people decided, actually, the life we had before isn't the life I want to have now. I want to do what I love to do. So it's basically helping people reset their lives, like reset, refocus, and then restart. As we come out of lockdown, I think it's almost like BC, AD and BC.
Yeah.
Before COVID and AC after COVID, because the world isn't going back, I don't believe, to what it was before. We've all learned to do different things. So it's really been helping people do that. And so every day I ask in the room, there's 7 steps to the Reset Your Life program. But in the room, I ask 3 questions. I create a theme for the day, and then I ask 3 questions. So today it was about preventing burnout. So the question was, what are the symptoms of burnout? What are the consequences of burnout, and how can you prevent it? And the quote for the day was, if you work hard and don't play, the ending's gonna be in a bad way. So you've got to work and rest, work on, rest and play. And so that was today. 2 days ago, I was like, you've got to know where you came from to know where you're going to. So I said, can you tell me your parents' story? Then tell me what your childhood memories are. And then who are you now? And how does that reflect on who your parents were, who your child was, and who your upbringing was? And a lot of people realized, including myself, because half the time I'm asking myself the same question. Well, I am. And then the posts that you see on social media are me listening to everyone's answers, and I'm summarizing at the end of the room. I summarize everything. So that's what I post. But for me, it was like, oh, I'm like this because of my parents and because of my childhood. And even people that weren't in the room were going, oh, I've read your post this evening, and it really made me think. Just making people, asking the questions to make people think what they really want, who they are, what they're good at, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and it's actually thinking about the future. Because if you create, your vision, your 5-year vision or your 10-year vision, I would say, point A is where we are now, and point B is where you want to be in 3, 5, 7, or 10 years. And then resetting your life is just setting the sat nav, or setting the map, or setting the journey and getting from A to B. And yeah, hopefully you're going in a straight line, but as you know, when you're driving, sometimes there's a diversion, and you've got to go an obstacle, and you've got to go around it, and then come back onto your track and carrying on. So that's basically what the reset your life system is.
Sounds really, really good. I think I've been in one of your rooms maybe at the start, but unfortunately I'm not your poster early morning girl. 5:30 is a stretch for me, but now I'm probably gonna make an effort, Kojo, because it sounds really powerful, especially what you're talking about, your parents and your upbringing. I've had a similar conversation recently with a group of parents from my son's school, where we're doing a little bit of kind of coaching skills for parents. And it's come up, how we were raised, the position that we are in our family, whether you're the firstborn or lastborn or only child and all that, and how that might influence how you parent and how you see the world. And it was really powerful, not just because I had some reflections about my kind of perspective on life and where that's come from, but listening to other people who were maybe middle children. I'm firstborn of 3, but people who were like middle children and lastborn, and what they feel and what they think gave me a little bit of a perspective about what other people in my family might be thinking, and some of my friends. And I could see some things there that linked to why certain people that I know behave the way they do or think the way they do. And it boosted my empathy in general, and self-awareness. So I think it's such a powerful thing to be doing, just to be reflecting and understanding what's influencing you, but knowing that you can change it, right? Just because you were brought up a certain way, or certain things happened or whatever, doesn't mean that you can't change it. I think it's down to self-awareness. Do you agree?
100%, because people often say that's just the way I am. It's not that. They're habits, they're daily habits, and a habit, you can change it. It takes 66 days on average to change a habit. That's why the whole 90 days thing is, for me to have an impact, is if I do something for 90 days, there's a lot of people who have been in that room every day for at least 66 days. So now it's becoming a habit of asking. They wake up in the morning, they come in the room, ask some questions, they reflect, they analyze. The most successful people, high performers, and I've been lucky and blessed enough to work with many, and they all had these sort of traits. And then when I got into coaching and doing Brendan Burkhardt's high performance habits, Craig Ballantyne, who's my coach, is about his whole thing's the perfect day, perfect week, perfect life formula of having this balance. You have to assess every day. At the end of the day, you assess how the day went, what went well, what didn't go so well, what problems did I have, how can I solve them? And you do that every day. And then you plan the next day, the day before, 3 things I aim to achieve. What's the number 1 priority? And then you do that same thing for the week. In your health, your wealth, yourself, and your personal enrichment, you set yourself 3 targets to achieve that week. Then you do the same thing for the month. 3 things you want to achieve in the month, and then you set your 90-day goals of what you wanted to, your number 1 goal in your health, your wealth, yourself, and personal enrichment for 90 days. Then you set your vision for 1 year, done it for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you're working backwards. You know where you want to get. So what do I have to do every day to take a step forward to my goal? You have a choice. You can either take a step forward, step sideways, or step back, and I choose to step forward every day.
Absolutely. And you're right about the habits and being able to just keep doing it, and eventually it becomes a habit. Onyie, who's a good friend of mine, she says, true, it's empowering to know that you can change the things that you don't like. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. We've got a question from someone who is watching elsewhere. So what is something that Kojo has learned from some of the people who reflect in the rooms that he does? So this is from Hussein. Is he a friend of yours? Probably.
Yeah.
So you want to respond to that?
Yeah. So what have I learned? Well, I've learned that there's a lot of like-minded people. I've learned how much your parents impact you, especially fathers are interested. And with the African fathers and African and Muslim fathers, or just maybe fathers in general, but I'm particularly West African. We're neighbours, Nigeria and Ghana, and how this how your fathers, as you're meant to be a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, or an engineer.
Yep.
Yeah, that's ringing some bells. So when you go and say that you're going to be a dancer, doesn't go down.
Dear. It doesn't go down well. No, you're right about that.
And so there's some people in the room that I just really see the problems that have been caused by their fathers telling them, and them trying to live the life that their parents or their father wants them to live. That's the biggest one, I think, is that, and then the negative effect it has of parents trying to get their kids to do what they think their kids should do and not letting them live the life they should live. And actually, Hussein, and there's a few of us, I noticed a lot of people in the room. It's another thing that reflection is how many people in my particular room, or our room, should I say, because it's a movement, want to help people and they want to make the world a better place. So I said a few days ago, I was like, right, I'm finishing this by July the 2nd. So let's say the end of, which is a Friday. I said, the end of the month, let's, a group of us, get together and work out how we can try and change the world. My ambition, my main mission is to improve the health, happiness and lifestyle of 1 billion people. Now that's impossible to do on your own. But I worked it out. I said, I think I've got 800 and something followers on the group, which has come from 78 days. So let's say 780 would be 10 people a day. Yeah. But it will take me a long time to reach 1 billion people. But if all of us touch 10 people, after 780 becomes 7,800 the next day, then it would become 780,000 the next day, then it will become 7.8 million. Then 7.8 billion would only take a week if all of us reached out to 10 people every day and helped improve their health and lifestyle. So yesterday, 4 of us got together, and no, 5, and started brainstorming, and we were like, we want to change the world on a global scale. So for me, with Elysium, I can do that by, I used to be with the Prime Minister and the heads of banks and like global companies and be able to speak to them, and they're people that can influence the world. They're the decision makers. So if Elysium, if I've got those people, 12 of those people, let's say I've got Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey, I'm just chucking that. I don't know these people. I'm just saying, if I had those people come, and let's say, I don't know, Jeff Bezos or the big people that have an impact, and you've got them in the middle of the Highlands, you've got them away from social media, you've got them doing yoga, meditation, being at one with nature, and then you have a dinner, and you're sat at the dinner table, maybe having a drink of wine, maybe a little sip of whiskey next to the fire, and you start talking about how you could change the world and make it a better place. That's one way, and that's my thing with Alicia. But the other way is the children. If we can target the children and teach and get to them and show them a better way, they're the next generation. So we were. What came out of the meeting yesterday was how kids, whether it's getting sport, arts, engineering, showing them different things. So people that have been in London, maybe bringing them up to the Highlands and showing them farming and out in the wild. I've got a friend that works with young offenders. He's just brought them up to Keith, and they're on an estate. All these 15-year-old kids from prison that are on long sentences, knife crimes and things like that. Right. Taking them up to the Highlands, and they said they were camping and they were around the fire. And they said, there was knifings in Hyde Park at the weekend. If they weren't on this and they were out, they would have been involved in that. So one showing that, getting kids into sport, art. Scott, that's in the room, he does marshalling for motorsport. Showing them all different things and opportunities. And we've got Sabusi, so he's come on board as well. He's the first Black African to climb Mount Everest twice. And he's got 7 peaks, 7 summits all around the world. Amazing. It's North Pole and South Pole. His thing is he wants to show African children that they can do anything they want to do, and there's no limits. So that's what we're working on now, as you know, that's come from this group. These people have stayed. I've known him 2 weeks. He's like my brother now. We talk every day because we're on the same path. So I think just connecting with like-minded people and realizing how people have been made the way they are because of their children, their parents, and their upbringing, and how we can change, as we said, get rid of the bad habits and replace them with positive habits.
Absolutely. Oh, that's some really powerful stuff. And the people that you've met and influenced and you're collaborating with, it's just, it's mind blowing. And if anyone's watching this now or later and is wondering, what is Clubhouse? What are these rooms and groups that you're talking about? You can send me a note or send Kojo a note and we can get you an invite into Clubhouse. It's just a new social media app. It's an audio only app, and there are different clubs and groups, and you can go into rooms and listen to what people are saying. You don't have to participate. You can actually just sit in the room and listen to it. So if you are kind of curious about what it is, do let us know. You can send us private messages. If you want to connect with Kojo, please feel free to do that. Go to his profile, and you're happy for people to get in touch with you, right, Kojo? Amazing.
1 billion people. I want as many people to get in touch.
Yeah, let's get you to 1 billion people real quick. So connect with Kojo and help him change the world. On a final note, I wanted to talk a little bit about how Reset Your Life goes into really reset your business. So if you can talk a little bit about the business side on some of those conversations that you've been having. You've been co-hosting with Ruby, and I was honored to be your first guest on some of those conversations at the start. So I want to understand maybe something that you can leave out the audience with around resetting not just your life, but your business as well, especially after the 18 months that we've had.
So I think one is looking at the opportunities there are. Like all business is solving people's problems. So things have changed. So I think there's this thing about work being local and being global, and I think they're calling it glow local. So let's take the Highlands, for instance, and let's take, there's a business here, Suitors Creek, which is a restaurant, and obviously it couldn't be a restaurant in the pandemic. So then it started doing takeaways and deliveries, become a delicatessen, and it's doing takeaways locally, and that, they've been open for years. Why weren't they doing deliveries before? It's now making it's more economical because they don't have to have so many staff, and they can actually serve more people. So that's something that, and if they could, say keep that up, and when it opens up, go back to being a restaurant, and you'd have an additional revenue stream. So that's just something that's local. For me, I can train and coach people if I'm doing fitness and sport. I can train and coach people locally. And the restrictions haven't been that bad up here most of the time, so I can go and train in a park or a thing, or I've got my own gym, but I can go online. It's forced me to go online and go globally, and my clients now, my coaching clients, in that room I'm talking about, we've got people all over the world, but I've got coaching clients in Canada, Switzerland, San Francisco, Africa. I would never have had those before the pandemic. So my business is now going global from my bedroom in Cromarty in the Black Isle and the Highlands. I couldn't, in normal times, I couldn't connect with all those people and be working with them. So one, I think focusing on what you can do locally on the person to person, eyeball to eyeball, and then looking at going online, which is just opening up so many opportunities that you can reach out globally and scale a business, and making contacts and making networks. I think with Ruby, she's from events. Now she's virtual events, and she would have only been working in Scotland. Now she's working with people all around the world. And then if you've created this new revenue stream in the lockdown, I say about being pandemic proof, you really, it's pivoting, I'm just saying. So I always say pivot your business is instead of reset is the personal. But in business, it's pivoting or repositioning. And restaurants are having to do that a lot. And then you've got, not only doing local takeaways, but people are delivering further afield, nutrition things and just getting the deliveries. Look at Amazon. That business has not suffered. It has gone mad
flourished.
And there's some businesses that are flourishing. So you've got to get on the online, and that's here to stay in the health and fitness business. It's all online now. And now gyms and clubs are running online memberships and normal club memberships, because they're finding a lot of people, even though the gyms aren't open, people have got used to working out from home. So in terms of office space, you need less office space. You need to travel less more. You can do more on Zoom. It was very interesting. We had Russell Dalgleish on, the chairman, when he said he switched it round the other way with the traveling, where he said he didn't. I
remember that.
Yeah, that threw me completely. He said, I don't travel local because in Scotland, he doesn't need to go and see Scott because he's another Scottish person in Scotland. Yeah. He goes and travels to New York because then he's a Scotsman in New York where it's more impact. So, so this pivoting is a brilliant word from Eric Doyle. And it's just doing that. And so for me with the castle, because one of the questions the investors are going to say is, we're going to hotel, castle, doing wellbeing for us. What happens if we go into another lockdown? And I think the chances of us going into another lockdown are high. Do we really think in the next 5 to 10 years that this will be the only pandemic that we will ever experience going forward? If we look at China, of their history over the last 15 to 20 years, I think the chances of even if it's not COVID, another pandemic of sorts are quite high. So to not be positioning your business with that in mind would be a little bit naive. So for me with the castle, I want to create films. I was talking to the architect. I want a film studio so that I can interview things like we're doing now, that I can do it on site. And like QVC, the shopping channel, my ex-girlfriend was a model working there, and they worked all the way through pandemic. They just had less models going in, and it's all different studio on each floor, and that's all it is studio, and they just need a skeleton staff to film, and they can keep it going. So I want to do the same thing with all the fitness stuff in the castle. If we go into lockdown, I will just have a bubble of fitness trainers and people that need to do production to be an online fitness, wellbeing and lifestyle channel from the castle, with everyone in their little bubble living in a castle with 20 acres, just the production staff, skeleton crew, and make all the money from online. So that's my way of making.
That is quite a strategy, Kojo, for someone who started out without a strategy, and you got all these opportunities. It's really amazing, and I think we can probably talk for another hour on this and all your background and experience. Thank you so much for joining me. If you do want to connect with Kojo, please feel free. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing another live. I'm taking a rest next week. It's going to be about the energy transition, and Scott Petrie, who we've mentioned already, is going to be joining me, and John Butler as well. And it's going to be a great conversation around the energy transition, how Scotland is positioned in that, and the renewable energy sector, and some of the kind of developing tech that is going on in that sector. So if that's your bag, please feel free to follow me so that you get a notification when I go live in 2 weeks.
Scott's out. When I said there's a little group of us, Scott and Hussein, there's 3 of them, plus the Brucey Soda man that's travelled the world, Jim Oliver, and a lady called Mimi, who's a transformation coach down in London. So that's the nucleus of our little thing. Okay, fantastic. Great network, great community of people. And thank you so much for joining me, Kojo. Thanks everyone for joining us. See you next time. Bye. Thank you.